Now Probert
got the right hand free.
He's loose with the right hand, and he starts to retaliate, and down goes Nyland, and the two of them are hammering each other.
Knights of Columbus, that hurt.
It's old-time hockey, the way you're supposed to play. You throw a little lumber if a guy gets in your way. You play like Gordie Howe or Eddie fucking Shore. We can't all be Gretzky's, the Muse or Bobby Orr's.
The enforcer of all hockey podcasts. It's the Biscuit. It's the Biscuit.
Damn it! Sex goal regulation size of what?
The enforcer of all hockey podcasts.
God help the fucking day if fighting's ever banned. As our country will stop working on Sabatmas fucking cans.
Hi, everybody. It's the Biscuit Podcast.
Hey, wanna go? Yeah, okay. Good luck, man. Good luck to you too, buddy.
All right, Biscuit Babies. Time for another podcast. It is the inaugural season previews with you guys, my friends and fans, and we're going to start it off with a bang with the Maple Leafs and with Farmer Rob. How the hell are you, Farmer Rob?
Hey, not too bad. How are you doing?
Doing good, my man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, first off, let me know where you're from and why you're a Maple Leafs fan.
Well, I live in a little town, Lucan. It's about 2 hours, I guess you'd say, northwest of Toronto. And I'm a Leafs fan because that's what was on TV when I was a little guy growing up. And that's just the way she went.
Hey, I don't know if you've heard before, but I actually grew up a Leafs fan myself because on the Wayne Gretzky hockey, Doug Gilmour was such a badass and we didn't have a team in Ohio, so it was like, Leafs, Wings, or Penguins, and I wasn't going those ways, so I shared that with you here until 2000 when I had to drop the Leafs as my favorite team. But I've always liked the Leaf. You can't beat their sweater and original six, so good year for you guys last year, my man.
What was that?
I said it was a pretty good season last year for you guys.
Yes, that was a great season. A surprise to a lot of people, I think. I was hoping they would, be in contention with, at the 60-game mark. But that was probably best case. So for them to actually slip into the playoffs, I'll admit I was surprised, And I'm diehard, and you try to see the good in every move and everything that could be coming, but I didn't really think they would slip into the playoffs, to be honest with you.
Right. Well, it for sure starts with Babcock 2 years ago. That first year was kind of, him cleaning house and getting ready for, what he's going to do there. And then getting Matthews with the first pick, everybody was sure he was going to go first, but you never expect him to do what he did, especially a kid from Arizona, just incredible. You play your first game in the NHL and you score 4 goals. It's, absolutely unheard of. And, like you said, I thought they would be decent. I was worried about Frederik Andersen and then just the kids being, all of them under 20 years old, really. But for them to go 40, 27, and 15 and get 95 points and make it to the playoffs and really give Washington a run for their money there.
Yeah, they actually, too, if you look at the loss column, they lost more one-goal games than any team in the league last year and more overtime games. They were, even if they went 500 in those one-goal games, the overtime games, sorry. They might have set a club record for points in the season. So,
yeah, that's incredible. And even, how many games in that playoff series went overtime, it seemed like every night they were going overtime.
Yeah, that's right. And Matthews, in particular, you mentioned him. He surprised me as well. I thought maybe he comes in, he as advertised, he's fantastic talent, but you expect a kid to score 30 goals, and they had 10 rookies on the club.
Right.
And rebuilding. He set a club record last year, broke Wendell Clark's rookie record for goals in the season. If you're in the same sentence with Wendell Clark with me, you're a pretty solid guy right there.
Yeah, you're doing all right. He does it in such a calm, cool, and collected way. It's like he's not even trying, and then next thing you know, he's scoring. He's just so effortless. It's quite incredible. So we'll do just a quick so the points leaders of last year, obviously Matthews, 69, winning the Calder Cup. James Van Riemsdyk having a hell of a year with 62. And then Marner, Kadri, and Nylander with 61. Matthews leads the way with goals with 40. Marner with assists with 42. And then Matt Martin, I got to do the penalties and minutes, you know that, with 123. Who?
Yeah, I got a soft spot for Martin, so that's all right. No worries.
I like him better in Toronto than I did, in New York. So I'm glad he's over there.
I seem to spend a lot of time on Twitter defending him and fighting with the analytics crowd about his importance. So
keep up
for sure.
keep up the good fight, man. Who do you think? You had mentioned there was 10 rookies last year on the squad. The sophomore slump seems to be a real thing. It does happen. Who do you expect to kind of, if any of them, not do exactly what they did that rookie season? And that's not going to be hard to ask because, I mean, these guys put up incredible numbers. I mean, all of them did.
Yeah. One thing that does worry a little bit with Matthews especially, I mean, early in the season, Babcock tried to shelter him a little more, where he didn't get maybe the minutes and the attention, but by the end of the season, I mean, he was seeing the best pair of defensemen, and he was seeing the check-in centers, and he seemed to play through that okay. But to have him come back and top 40 goals, that might be tough to do.
Yeah.
My biggest concern too, with Marner and Nylander, they're not the biggest guys in the world.
Yeah.
And so if they happen to get injured, obviously that's going to take a chunk out of their point totals right there. It's really you don't like to predict who's going to have a. But if I had to say, I am worried a little bit about Nylander.
Okay.
Not because of his talent or his drive or his attention to detail, but just that's the one guy there that. But he plays with Matthews regularly, and it looks like he'll continue to. So I don't know. Maybe they'll squeak through without that sophomore slump. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah.
The one guy that can't afford to have a slump, and they are thin on the blue line, is Nikita Zaitsev. If he was to step back and struggle, or he got a concussion late in the season, have any lingering concussion issues, or be injured again, that would hurt the team probably more than anything. I mean, they're not built on the back end for to have a couple of injuries for sure. So.
Right, exactly.
I'd be more concerned if he does. He might be able to find offense from other people, but like with the acquisition of Marlowe, and they still have JBR there, and but that's the one guy for sure. Yeah,
I agree, man. Frederick Anderson had quite the season too, 33-16, 4 shutouts. I always liked him. He kind of surprised me, taking on the bulk of the games and really playing quite well, and then having McElhinney as a backup, he's a hell of a backup too. So I think going forward in the goalie situation, they're sitting nice. And you had mentioned signing.
They are, but sorry to cut in, but
no, you're fine.
If Anderson was to be injured for any length of time, they would be in trouble. They don't have a guy at the American Hockey League level that could step in.
Roll.
And Curtis could play for a short stretch and maybe be okay. But if he had to play 40 games, they'd be in a bit of trouble.
Sure. Yeah. McElhinney's a backup for sure. So, yeah, you might, like you said, if Anderson gets hurt, they might be properly fucked.
Absolutely.
Now, they did.
But having said that, he had a tough start to the season as well. Like his first month of the season, he was hurt actually in the World Cup. And he really struggled early, and the media was after him, and the fans were after him, and they made a mistake and everything else. And if you take that first, let's say, 5 weeks of the season away from his record, he was excellent. He had a real strong season for Toronto. He surprised me.
And that was probably
Sorry, I got some background noise there. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're all right. And I think that was probably a big surprise, too, the culture shock. I mean, Anaheim is not even comparable as far as a hockey city goes to Toronto. So, he might have had a little more pressure than he was used to. And he took a lot of shots on net, too, that, like you said, those first 5 weeks, he was getting berated with fucking pucks. So I'm glad he turned it around.
Yeah, for sure. And he has a good, his demeanor and his composure, he's kind of built for Toronto. He doesn't give any good sound bites, and he doesn't give the media anything.
Yeah.
He always seems to be doing his job, and he's fine, right? And hopefully, or I shouldn't say hopefully, but I think they did their due diligence on him when they acquired him. That they must have known that he could handle because there's been a steady stream of goaltenders burn out and flame out in Toronto over the years.
Yeah. Well, that's also interesting. You saying there's not really a dude in the AHL. So I'm glad. That right there is the reason why we're doing these podcasts, because that opens the light for me. If Frederic does go down, that could be scary. Some of the big off-season signings, obviously the signing of old Patrick Marleau there, the 37-year-old, who had quite a season last season. That's nothing but a positive pickup there. All he can do is help those young guys around him, and he's still got a lot of game left in him too. He's scoring 4 goals a night sometimes. So I love that pickup. I was sad to see him leave San Jose, but it was the best situation for him, and definitely the best situation for Toronto. I love the Hainsey pickup. Like you said, their blue line is might as well be 16 years old. So.
And it's not really deep either. Like you get past Gardner, Riley, and Zaitsev, and then there's just names you float in and out, right? So,
right.
But he had a nice run with the Penguins last year, and he played well in the playoffs.
I thought so.
I'm just not convinced that he can play top 4 minutes, every night, and make them a little better. I really think there's going to be a move at some point with the excess forwards. Like JVR, Bozak, and Komarov all heading into free agency next summer. I really think JVR is the guy that eventually will be moved for a defenseman.
You think so?
But there again, I'm not sitting in the room with Shanahan and Lamoriello, so that's just me guessing, right?
If I had to send a dude, I'd probably send old Ballsack there. I don't know why, but he would be the dude that I would lose. But JVR, like you said, he's got a lot of upside, and there's a lot of teams that would like to trade and pick him up.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot.
I think going forward with the salary cap, those 3 young guys we talked about are all going to make big money within 2 years.
Yeah.
And I really think Marleau got JVR's money. I think that was the money that would have been eartight for JVR, and I just don't think that there's room for him and JVR on the cap. So.
Do you happen to know what Marleau's contract was off the top of your head?
For Marleau?
Yeah.
I believe it's 3 years, $5 million per.
Right.
It might have been 6 actually.
Yeah, it might have been.
It's a big money contract for sure, and they front loaded it, so they're paying more the next 2 seasons than the final season that he doesn't make quite as much.
Uh-huh.
I think the reason he came to Toronto, they were the only club offering 3 years, so that's actually how they were able to get him.
And I know I was just reading the other day that with his signing, it hasn't left Toronto with much a squat as far as cap room goes. So, like you had mentioned, those 3 guys coming up on free agency, and I see a lot of talk about Connor Brown as well. They're going to have to move somebody. Something's going to have to give, Yeah,
they do have Horton's contract sitting there and Lupo, and they can put them on long-term injury. So I think they're right around where they need to be heading into the season. But I just brought up the numbers, and actually Marleau's making $6.25 for the next 3 years.
Ooh.
That's a big for sure. And
Jeez.
I know there's a lot of conjecture out there in the Twitter sphere about that. They jumped out of the rebuild, and they that's kind of like the old Maple Leafs management tricks, was trying to add pieces when they weren't ready to add pieces and whatnot. But I do believe that with the amount of young guys they have, I really like the Marleau signing in that aspect.
Yeah.
Maybe in the 3rd year I won't make it so much out of him.
Yeah, I think when he's lacing up at 40, some Leafs fans are going to be going, "What the fuck did we do? We're paying this guy $5 million this year to be a 40-year-old man."
And one thing that Leafs fans can kind of laugh about a little bit, Lamoriello he's pretty tricky. He's got different ways around kind of, you wouldn't call it cap circumvention, but like Joffrey Lupo, I mean, is he hurt? Well, he hasn't played for 2 years now. I don't know, he'd like to, and he just kind of disappears every fall. I never see him. And Stefan Rosenbach is another guy. I mean, he came into camp one year, and he had a broken leg, and he was at camp, and all of a sudden he was on injury reserve, and he just wasn't around the team, and he disappeared. And the local media in Toronto, they call it Robidaw Island. So anybody who was injured, they sent him on a boat in the middle of Lake Ontario, I guess, and they stick him out there with Stefan Robidaw. So.
Now, speaking of development camp this season, I've read a lot about this Camp Stud, this kid from Sweden with the 17th overall pick. Was it
Yes.
Lil Jernin?
Yep, Lil.
His fucking name, it's those fucking
Lillegren or whatever. But,
Lulu, yeah, it's Swedish as all fuck, that's for sure. But
that's for sure.
he seems to be turning a lot of heads up there. I mean, he just signed a fucking contract, and he, as all intents and purposes, he could be playing.
Well, he coming into last season, he was ranked in top 3 by Central Scouting, and he got mono, and he was held out of the World Junior Tournament. And then when he got back playing, he bounced around from 2 or 3 different clubs, and he really never got set up anywhere. So he kind of had a miserable year, I guess is what you would say. And so, of course, Leafs are needing defense organizational wide, at all levels. And so, of course, they latched right onto him. And at the camp, the one thing that showed out huge from any of the clips that I saw. I mean, obviously, I'm not standing at rink side, right? But he can really wheel. He's got great skates, and he can fly. And that's, I guess at the end of the day, when you're drafting 18-year-olds, it's about the raw talent, right?
Right. Cases. Is he a big boy?
And no, he's not the biggest guy in the world. I don't think that's his game either. I think he's purely a finesse defenseman, but I don't think he's big enough really to he's got to mature. And his game, it didn't take a step back, but it would have taken a step sideways last year.
Yeah.
So I would strongly suspect he'll be back in Sweden next year.
Okay, so
or this coming season, I would say that. But you never know.
Did he signed a 2-way contract, right?
Yeah, and there is a chance that he can, because he's a drafted European, he can play minor pro, like he can play in the American Hockey League like Nylander did 2 years ago.
Okay.
They have that option too. You never know.
Just depending on
enough interested,
Now, yeah, as far as I was reading, them getting him at the 17th overall, it's been a steal. I mean, as far as if you go by today, so we'll see how he progresses. But like you said, you got to be excited about him, moving forward instead of keep continuing to step sideways, especially when they could use that D so hard.
And that is the one thing they have. Sheldon Keith's the head coach of the Marlies in Toronto, and he's showing in his time there that he's developing players for the NHL. And if they're not happy with what's available for coaching in Europe, he may be in the American Hockey League, and then they can keep him. He's right in Toronto there.
Keep him close, yeah.
Keep him under watch, and they know that they're going to get good coaching, and he'll learn the system right away.
What is a Marley?
A Marley?
Yeah.
That's a good question. It used to be called the Marlboros, and I'm not. That's short form. I really don't know. My kid asked me that not too long ago, and it used to be the junior club, like where there was an OHL club, Toronto Marlies, when Harold Ballard was alive, and they played out of the old Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens, like the Leafs did. And I really don't know what a Marley is, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm sure somebody will tweet at us tonight, and we'll find out. That's for sure. People love telling me what they know. All right, man.
I'm supposed to be big time Mr. Leaf fan, and I don't know. There you go.
What do you think about Dominic Moore?
Dominic Moore, he was in Toronto a few years back, and he just comes in. They had Brian Boyle in that fourth line role, fourth line center, and I really like Boyle, but
yeah, me too.
Ski, as well as some, and I think they wanted to get a little more foot speed on the fourth line. And so, having said that, though, when Boyle came in, I thought Matt Martin played a lot better.
I thought so too. I agree.
Yeah. So I think the idea is he's a good on the draws, and he's a good penalty killer, and he adds a little depth. and they don't. That's the other position. They have the three in the NHL, like Bozak, Kadri, and Matthews, but they don't have a lot of NHL-ready guys in the American Hockey League playing center either. Probably the best prospect is the fourth-line center, and Frederick Gauthier, and he got hurt in the American Hockey League playoffs, and he's out till Christmas. So that's that. And I think Freddie the GOAT, they call him, was going to be the fourth-line center this year. And then with that injury, so they signed Moore. And I like him as a player. He brings, like I say, foot speed and that part of the game. And he's a veteran, right? And with all the kids in the room, he's a solid guy for them to lean on.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, that works. Like you said, I liked Boyle in there just because of all them little young pretty boys. I liked seeing Boyle and Martin out there kind of give it a little scruff to it.
They played rough in the playoffs. I mean, I think probably out of their total body checks in that Washington series, the two of them probably were over half of the hits they had. Right?
Oh yeah, man!
On the ice, in the body on it.
I think without Boyle in that series, they wouldn't have done nearly as well as they had. And they fared well losing in 6. I mean, I don't think a lot of people had them. Everybody was so on the hype train for the Capitals there, but. I was rooting for him to beat him, man. That it fucked my bracket up, but at the end of the day, it was one of the more fun series to watch out of all the playoffs last year.
And as a Leaf fan, we haven't seen a whole ton of playoff hockey in the last 10, 15 years, right?
No, you guys are probably eating it up, huh?
Anytime we get in, that's all that matters, right?
That's right.
We're just happy to get in the playoffs with the team there and get them some experience, right?
All right, Farmer Rob, it's crunch time, man.
All right.
And then I'm going to get you out there so you can, get them cows in for the night. You go 40, 27, and 15 last year. Are you going to be better than that this season?
I think they will be.
You say yes.
I say yes. I say they'll be just short of the 100-point total for the season. Maybe 98 points. That's my prediction.
So they're going to make it 1, 2, or 3 out of their conference or division there. No wild card this year.
I think they can finish second in the division. I do.
I agree. I like that. I don't hate that pick at all. I think with everything you said, as long as Anderson stays healthy and all these kids play up to where they were last year, I think they'll be fine. If they win the cup soon, are you going to put the cup year under the silo? Because if you don't know Biscuit Babies, Farmer Rob has obviously a silo, but he painted a giant maple leaf on it. How long ago?
About 20 years ago.
20, and you got a lot of shit for it over the years.
Yeah, I have. There's been lots of finger pointing and mud slinging and everything else. So, I'm taking my fair share of grief on that one for sure.
Well, you'll probably have to clear a spot out for pitchers if they do win it. People are going to want to get up there.
Well, I'm going to paint a cup right underneath it and the years. Not just that one, the other cups the old boys used to see. I was born in 69, and the last cup they won was in 68. So
69?
Maybe I'm the jinx, you never know.
All right, so we're going to be better in 40-27. We're going to go to the playoffs, obviously, with that. I just got a question sent in from a fan right now from Fourth Line Voice. Are you ready for this question?
Sure.
How is the parade route planning going?
Well, I leave that to city officials and urban planners, I guess. Almost like the Fourth Line Voice that works for the community. They handle things like that, eh?
That's right, man. Hey, dude, this was great, man. I really do appreciate you coming on, and you're always welcome back on the Biscuit for some Maple Leafs talk, my man.
Hey, anytime you need some analysis of a trade or a possible pending move or hiring or firing, you just give me a shout. I'd be more than glad to be on again.
You are my go-to Maple Leaf. Everybody can go follow you on Twitter. It's not Farmer. It's Farmer Rob, right?
Yep, Farmer Rob 17.
Farmer Rob 17. Go follow him. He's always tweeting. He's good fun. Thanks again, Farmer Rob. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks, bud. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. You have a good night.
You too.
All right, that was the season preview for the 2018 Maple Leafs with Farmer Rob. Appreciate him coming on. Go follow him at Farmer Rob's 17 on Twitter. Make sure to go follow the Biscuit Pod on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram, _biscuit_podcast. email me, biscuitpodcast@gmail.com. Where else? Oh, yeah. Listen to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, not Spotify. Write Spotify and tell them to get the biscuit on. Tell them to quit being pussies. Rate and review us on all those things, guys. Leave comments. It helps the podcast out. Want to thank Lucid Float Spas in Mount Vernon, Ohio. Go float. Be like Rogan. Feel better. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to feel better? Dipshits. Reach into a nice shitty cooler. Grab yourself a beer. Go over to shittycoolers.com. Go buy some stuff. Tell them the biscuit sent you. I'd appreciate it. Also, make sure to head your ass over to parkersplatoon.org. Get a bracelet. Buy a jersey. Buy a fucking cigar box. Donate some money. Oh, you hate freedom? Fuck you. Do it. USA. Freedom. Hockey. The biscuit.